Hi, everybody. I am live. I'm plugging in my cord there. So, welcome to this week's live on the three M's of money management. Let me see if I can get my camera fixed just so. And so, we have one person in the live. We're just going to start. Oh, let me start my poll. Starting my poll. And so if you can, like the live, thank you. Please like the live on your way in. And so I'm not sure if it's Defam Adventures that's in the live now or Mrs. Paula. I know Mrs. Paula made a comment earlier before I started the live. And so what we're going to talk about today is, and I'm going to, sorry, got mouse issues this morning. What we're going to talk about today are the three M's. You know, I've talked about making money. You know, even if you're on a fixed income, how you can make money and increase your way and budget your way out of poverty. What I want to talk about today is the whole package, right? The three M's of building wealth. Hi, Jarrett. Great to see you. And thank you for the interview on Wednesday. I was just going to mention that everybody please go back and watch my interview with Jarrett Talks on Wednesday morning, which is both on his channel and on my channel. So that was really wonderful. Thank you for giving me that time. So what we're talking about today, oh, there's Mrs. Paula. Mrs. Paula, I'm sorry, I was in a meeting this morning when I saw that you were live, but I was in a meeting. So I'm so sorry. I have a meeting before this live every Friday. And so anyway, I'm still going to support your lives. I'm coming. So what we're talking about today, I keep getting off track with getting started because I'm sort of waiting for more and more people to come in. And Coach Mean Reen told me, you know, or she talked in her live about giving it a couple of minutes to let people come in and not just launch into the topic. And I launch right into the topic because I'll just ramble if I don't do that. And we don't want me up here rambling and never getting to the content or the talking points like I did last week with my 700 subscriber party. I never got to my talking points that I had. But so what we're talking about this week are the three M's, which is make money, manage money, multiply money. And this comes from a video that's inspired by Christina Wise. And she's a YouTuber who does like courses or she has seminars or something where she's trying to teach people these things. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to give my take on this. And so the other thing that inspired this was an audiobook that I just saw this week on YouTube that was titled How to Build Wealth from Zero. And so this is going to be a combination of these two things because I built wealth from zero and I'm still building wealth because I'm not done yet and I don't have, it's not that I don't have enough. I have enough. Okay, I have enough for my basic expenses. I have enough to go on vacation. But I would like to leave the world with more, if that makes sense. What I have is I have a trust. And I'm going off topic. See how I go left and start to ramble? I have a trust that says if something happens to me, my wife has income for the rest of her life. And then after she passes away, the money goes to charity. Well, we don't know how much that's going to be, right? By the time she passes away. Hopefully it's a lot of money that will go to charity. And so the more wealth I build today, the more goes to my wife for the rest of her life in annual payments or monthly payments. And then the more goes to charity after my wife passes away. So yes, I'm still building wealth even though I have enough today. There is never a part where you say, I'm all done. You know, I have enough money, right? There's a country music song. It says, too much fun is what it's called. And it says, there's no such thing as too much money, right? There's just no such thing. So that's what we're going to get into today. And so, we're breaking down these three topics. Oh, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the live, or share the video out if you're watching the replay. Share out the replay. And thank you if you're watching the replay. I never say that every single week. I forget to say thank you for watching the replay. So let's get right into it here. Second, as I get myself together here. So let's talk about the making money, because we've talked about that before. However, everybody has different ways to make money, right? If you're on a fixed income, you have a check that comes in every month. That is your making money. You can do small side hustles so that you do not mess up your benefits, but that's how you have your making money. For someone like me that was working for the government, I had to find ways to make money that did not conflict with my government job. So I was in IT and I managed databases and I did IT systems. So I could not go out and get a job working for another company managing their database or managing their servers. I couldn't do that. So some people are restricted on how they can make money. So I had to go out and find side hustles. Back in the day, this is before YouTube, back in the day where I traded time for money. There were only so many hours in the day, and I had to make money during as many hours in the day as possible. So if you figure that I'm working 8 hours a day and I have an hour and a half commute each way into DC, which is only 15 miles, but an hour and a half to go 15 miles. So that only left me so many hours in the evening where I could make extra money, and weekends. So I had to work Saturday, Sunday, all day, and a few hours every evening. Now, one of the ways that I made money was I invested in myself. I did my homework in college during the evening hours, and that was an investment in myself for my future earnings, which I'm now reaping today. So one of the things is to get out of the poverty mindset, because that holds a lot of people back. They think that the world is against them and that the world controls what their future is going to be. And that holds a lot of people back from doing these 3 M's, right? So people have to get out of a poverty mindset. Me, I was in poverty and I did not like my life. I didn't like the struggle. I didn't like barely having enough money to pay the rent, pay child support, pay the IRS. I was struggling. I mean, I was really struggling. And I said, I do not want to do this forever. And so poverty is not a lack of money, but a mindset that you are powerless to build wealth, and that you must settle for whatever the world gives you. Never settle for whatever the world gives you. You know, my channel is about designing your own life and designing the life that you want to live. So take control. It's sort of that thing of locus of control. Have an internal locus of control where you say, I make my decisions about my future. And I dream, and I attain my dreams by dreaming, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That didn't come out totally correctly. But what I have here, this is a quote that I keep in my head, is that if you're not working on your dream, then someone else will hire you to build their dream. You know, and I don't know who said that. I don't know. But that stays in my head, that I have to first be the first person in line in my life. So yes, I'm working for an employer, but I am the owner of my business. So my business is to further my agenda. Yes, the employer tells me when to come to work, what to do, what tasks to do, and all that. But after that, the money I make from that employer doing their tasks is put towards my dreams. And it's not put towards, let's just see how much we can spend and then wait for that next paycheck. Because if you're just paycheck to paycheck, then when the employer says, we're no longer giving you a paycheck, you're stuck. Hey, Tiger, great to see you. And so I'll be traveling in the next couple of days, Tiger, and I'll talk to you more about that over the weekend. But what I was trying to say is that if you're paycheck to paycheck and you do not, which we'll get into in the next M, which is manage, right? So right now we're at make money, and we'll get into manage money. So first you have to make money. So you have to have a job. You have to have an income of some sort. It could be passive income, which we'll talk about a little bit later. You have to have some income, and then you have to manage that income. Never let your employer be your only source of income, because when they cut off the food line, you're stuck. And I see a lot of people nowadays, we'll talk about AI for just a moment. A lot of people are losing their job to AI. I mean, really, white collar workers. You know, I was doing databases, as I mentioned. Well, databases were going out of fashion at the time, and programmers were the hot thing at the time. So my salary was below six figures. Programmers they were hiring were above six figures. And everybody wanted to be a coder. Everybody wanted to be a programmer. Well, I'm seeing quite a few of them lose their jobs, and 6 months they're trying to find another job. Well, they're on YouTube and they're using their savings because they only had that one stream of income. But now that they have YouTube, they have multiple streams of income. Hi, Trina. Great to see you. Thank you for saying that, Miss Paula, because then I could see that Trina was here. I'm trying to stay on the camera and not look over at my chat in the studio there. So that's make money, right? Multiple streams of income is always good. So excuse me, I have sniffles. I try not to blow my nose on camera, but I have sniffles. And so this is real life live, isn't it? So excuse me for 1 second. Okay, so now we talked about that. One thing that I learned from Chris Hogan, who used to be on the Dave Ramsey show, I have to say that. I haven't seen him much since he left the Dave Ramsey show. He's been on YouTube off and on. But he always said, dream in high definition. And so that's what I do. I will get a photo of a big, beautiful home on the water, and I'll put that photo out and I'll say, this is my dream. Have I ever had that house? No. But I keep pushing to get closer and closer to that particular dream. And so I'm shooting for the moon, but maybe I land among the stars. And that's what I'm trying to say here, is have a dream and work your own dream. When you make money, put that money towards your dream and always have that dream. So that's the make money part. Oh, Miss Paula says, fall allergies are kicking my hiney. So goldenrod is blooming everywhere. Yes, you know, and I took my allergy medicine this morning, so I don't understand why I'm having allergies. Sometimes my allergies are so bad I need 2 allergy pills in a day because they just don't work for me. So income earning is a skill, right? Making money is a skill. There are ways that you can increase your income. Now, I did not, and I know I hear a lot of people say this, go to your boss and ask for a raise. Well, because I was demoted, I went to my boss one time and I said, hey, I'd like a raise. And they said, do you want your job? That's what they said to me. And I said, excuse me, don't want the raise. I'll just go back to my office. Okay? So not everybody can just walk into their boss's office and ask for a raise. Now, if you're good and you can show the company your value and the amount of money that you're either making the organization or saving the organization, Yes, you can go into your boss's office, but that was not my case. I just want to be clear about that. So, what you can do is you can upskill yourself. And that's what I did. I went back to school and I got one degree and then I went and got another college degree. And I thought all of those would help me to either get promoted or to get another job at another government agency. And so the point is, I was working on my dream of increasing my income. And so, what you can do is you can find free online courses, right? Yes, there's a lot of courses you can pay for, and a lot of YouTube channels have courses. But there are a lot of colleges like Yale and Harvard that have free courses online. And so you don't get a degree from the courses, but you learn the skills. And that's how a lot of people got into programming and coding, and they're making a lot of money, the ones that haven't been laid off. So there is YouTube University, right? That's my favorite. That's my current university. After I got my PhD, I attended YouTube University. And I've been in it for some years now, and I've learned all sorts of things about retirement and about keeping the money that I make in retirement. So if you're not retired, learn on YouTube how to make more money. Learn on YouTube how to save more money, right? Trina is here. I love cash stuffing channels because some of these folks are trying to pay their way out of debt. Some are building sinking funds, right? Which I didn't know about, right? I've never had a sinking fund. It's hard for me to put money to the side. It's just hard. And so none of us do finances perfectly, is my point. And so learn from other people how they're saving money, even if they're doing it $1 at a time. No matter how much money you make, you can save $1 at a time. And that helps you over time pay off your car. It helps you over time save for one of your children to have a car when they get to be 16 years old. So the point is, you are the person that teaches yourself how to increase the amount of money you make. And so the other one that I'm going to share, now this is just my own personal favorite, and you guys know how I have my own personal soapboxes, but this is never let your car be running without learning something or without making money in today's era. See, back in my day, I would listen to articles that I was studying for my PhD in the car on my way to work. I didn't want to sit in the car for an hour and a half on the way to work and an hour and a half on the way home without learning. So I used every available hour to increase my skills. Now, I want to talk about today because when I wrote this down, the thought came to me that you can make money while you drive. And that the thought came of Faith Marie Unscripted. She does lives while she's driving home from work. See, now I used to listen to articles while I was driving home from work. She does lives, and then so while she's monetized on YouTube and people watch her replays of her lives, she could be getting money. Because I think YouTube is putting ads on lives. So I don't know if YouTubers are getting paid from their lives, but I do know YouTube is putting ads on lives now. So make money while you're in your car or learn while you're in your car. I'm a big advocate of learning while I'm in my car. And I will tell you that I watch YouTube while I'm driving. Like if I'm doing a drive across the country, I will be watching YouTube channels and learning while I'm going up and down the highway. It's in my nature. It's just in my nature not to waste time. So don't tell yourself that you can't do something. Never do that. My father told me, he said, name one thing that Kant ever did. And I'll never forget that. because what I've learned, especially starting in real estate, was that I had one rental property, and I had that one rental property for like 18 years because one, I was focused on school, but two, I did not know how someone gets a second rental property. I just didn't know. And you might say, how did it take you 18 years to learn how to get a second rental property? Well, I wasn't on YouTube. I wasn't focused on getting a second rental property. It was just something I just didn't know. And we did not have the resources that we have today with podcasts and YouTube. And those taught me how to get a second rental property and then a third rental property. And so, what this guy, Brandon Turner, who I started listening to with real estate way back in the day, okay, we say 2017 is back in the day. He said, ask yourself, how can I? Don't say I can't. How can I? So I had to say, how can I get a second rental property? So when I moved out of one property, I kept that property as a second rental. And that's how I did it. So that was my second rental property. Then a banker had to teach me, how do you get a third rental property, or how do you use your rental properties to get more rental properties? People taught me. So I don't know everything. And we're going to get into what I don't know as we transition now into the manage part of the money. So don't tell yourself, I can't make more money or I can't get more money. You can. You absolutely can. You have to ask yourself, how can I? Yes, you may have children at home that need your attention. You may be disabled. There are many different challenges that people have. But if you have the desire, ask yourself, how can I? And you can make more money. So let's transition, because let me see, yep, I've gone 20 minutes, so we're going to transition into the management phase. But before that, I'm going to ask you this one question. What's one way that you've increased your income in the past year? Put that in the comments if you can. So while I transition into the next set, which is manage your money. So we've talked about making money, and we've talked about increasing your income. Whether you're on a fixed income, whether you're low income, it doesn't matter. Because I started with zero. So no one can tell me that you can't start from zero, get out of poverty, and build wealth. Yes, it took me a lot of years. No, it will not take you as many years as it took me, because we have YouTube, we have social media, I didn't know you get paid on Facebook. I had no idea. But apparently people get paid on Facebook. So let's talk about controlling your money and telling every dollar where to go instead of wondering where it went. You know, back in the day, we used to go to the club, to the disco. That's how old I am. All of these different things. And I don't know what just happened. Something just happened. It buffered a little bit. But I have it on my Wi-Fi, so it should not be doing that. And so we went to the disco, and we would pay for these expensive drinks and stuff. All of those things drain your money. But that's what everybody was doing. So I wasn't thinking, I'm not planning for my future. I was thinking, I'm having fun on a Friday night, or I'm having fun on a Saturday night. If you're young, start managing your money now. Don't wait till you're older like me and have to play catch up, because playing catch up is a lot harder when you're managing your money. And that's why I am so focused on building wealth today, because I didn't start when I was younger, which would have been a lot easier. So let's talk about budgeting, right? And we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but you could do the 50-30-20 rule, right? Or which is 50% needs, 30% wants, and 20% to savings, right? Always have some portion of your income going to savings. Now, I will tell you, just so I am honest with you, I mentioned in my last video that I have $38,000 of debt right now. I'm going to be paying that off for the rest of this year. Hopefully I'm done by the end of the year, but I'm going to be paying that off for the rest of this year. I'm still putting a little bit towards retirement at one of my colleges. So always be saving. I have another college that requires that when you teach, 7% of your pay goes into their retirement plan. So that's a forced retirement savings there. However, I'm voluntarily just putting a tiny bit into my retirement account because I never want to not be saving. And the other thing that I'm doing is every time income comes in, whether it's my pension, whether it's a teaching paycheck, whether it's rental income, I put $50 into my high yield savings account. Now, $50 may not sound much in 2025, but for me, it's building a muscle. For me, it's building a muscle. And that's what I need to do because I'm not a good person to be putting cash to the side. I'm not good at it and I'm learning. So zero-based budgeting. I do zero-based budgeting. I don't necessarily do the 50-30-20 rule, but I do zero-based budgeting. I tell every dollar where to go. And I know every dollar that's going to come in at the beginning of the month, and I have it all planned out. My money is going here. Now, things come up during the month and they sidetrack me. Yeah, we'll take car insurance, right? Which I should have a sinking fund and I should be saving for, right? Again, I'm not perfect. Someday I'm going to have a sinking fund for car insurance. But when these things come up, they sidetrack me. And yes, they may take half of my income for that month, but I still have the other half that I can save and invest. So the first thing that you do when you're starting to manage your money. Oh, hi, Saditra. The first thing that you do when you start managing your money from wherever you are is stop digging, right? I talked about me going to the clubs or the discos. That was digging a hole. Every month I was digging a hole, right? I'm putting stuff on credit cards. Now I got to pay back the credit cards and I don't even have enough money just to pay the mortgages and everything else and then the credit cards, right? So, oh, hi, Tidy Twins. Great to see you. My prayers are with you, just so you know. So when I wanted to get out of debt and get out of poverty and start to build wealth, the first thing I had to do was stop digging a hole deeper. So stop charging things on my credit card. Yes, I'm paying on my credit card every month, but I had to slow down. I'm not saying you can just stop 100% one day, right? We're not talking about fantasy world here. We're talking about the real world. Especially on my channel, we talk about reality, which is slow down on using the credit card. And I will be honest with you. Oh, Tiger said, and when payday comes, we reset the error fund, or I think he meant emergency fund money, into savings. We reset the error money that we messed up last month into savings. And so I like that. Every month you make adjustments. If last month I had no money to pay on that $38,000 that I owe, next month I put $100 towards it or $1,000 towards it, whatever I can. But again, zero-based budget, because I know at the beginning of next month, we're going to start again. Now, part of what I owe is on a line of credit, which is as I paid that down, I could use that money again in case of an emergency. But the goal is don't have emergencies. The goal is pay the money down. And so that is how I manage my money. And so we stop digging a hole and living below your means. How do I have an extra $100 or an extra $1,000 in a month? It's because I don't spend every penny that comes in. Me personally, I shop at Walmart, I shop at Sam's Club, and that's it. I don't go to a lot of different stores because impulse buying. I know I'm impulsive. If I see that candy bar rack near the checkout stand and I'm hungry, I want a candy bar. I have diabetes. I should not be eating candy bars. So, why am I looking at candy bars 10 times a week? I'm not. I stay away. And next week, I'm going to be doing this live from my RV, which is at the lake. So you'll see that basically the only thing I'm buying are worms to go fishing, which don't cost that much. I think they're $5 for the worms. And so that's going to be it. That's my spending. And so any money that comes in is going to go to pay down that $38,000 in debt. And I'm going to report every month on my end of month spending how much I've paid down that month. Some months it's a little, some months it's a lot. And when I start teaching again in late September, then it will be more being paid down towards the debt. But for right now, we'll maybe $100 in September. We'll see. So we're going to talk about a mini budget. We're just going to look at a mini budget. If anybody has a budget, please put it in the chat, whether or not you budget. Do you look at the income coming in and the outflow going out? And how much of a gap do you have? Is it $200 at the end of the month? Is it $500 at the end of the month? See, and everybody gets to determine. And so I have an alarm going off on my phone, which was supposed to be turned off. So that is my mistake of the week for this live. And so I don't know what I'm going to do about that, because it's just going to keep coming back every 10 minutes until I can finish this live, because I'm not going to hit the button to stop the alarm. That may mess up my live. So Sedetra has a budget. And so people with budgets, and of course, Trina, she budgets because she has a lot of cash stuffing videos daily. She goes on YouTube daily. So I watch her every day to support her, because I am here to support anybody either trying to get out of debt or to build wealth. I also watch Miss Paula because she is just funny. She is just so cool. It has nothing to do with budgeting or debt. Sometimes you just need a nice person to watch and think that the world is beautiful. And so I watch Miss Paula, and that's what I do there. So she is my guilty pleasure, if you will. So anyway, long story short, I did that. So let's talk about this. How many people in here track their spending? Do you track your spending daily? Do you track your spending weekly? Put that in the comments. Do you only track your spending monthly? I will say that I go into my spreadsheets almost daily, and definitely weekly, because anytime money comes in, I want to see what's going on. And Sedetra says she goes in weekly, which is awesome. Some people don't look at their money for months, and then they wonder, how did I get so off track? Why don't I have any money saved up for vacation? Well, I am more of the Dave Ramsey when it comes to paying off debt. I believe, this is just me personally, nobody else has to do this, but I believe in scorched earth. And that's what I do, is I put every spare penny into paying down the debt. Now, when I'm debt free, all of my money goes to build wealth. And that's what I'm trying to get back to. I was debt free before in 2025, early 2025 and late 2024, but I went and bought some more rental properties. And so now I'm back in debt again. And I think for me, that works to be in debt for a short time to own rental properties that will pay me for a long time into the future. So I use debt to invest. Hi, Regina. I see Regina is here from Simply Fundamental, and she has a rental property or two as well. So, and she's going to be retiring, I believe, in 2025. No, is it 2026? No, it's 2026, Regina. She's going to be retiring if she makes it to her retirement date. She will be retiring. And so I love retirement. I love early retirement. And so, Regina, we've been talking about one, how to make money, but she's 2026. I don't want to say what month because she says that on her videos. So I don't want to throw her out there. But I'm going to be throwing a party, Regina, when you retire. So, so we've talked about making money. We've talked about managing money, right? Now, let's get to the part of multiplying your money. Because when you manage your money and you have a gap between your income and your expenses, it's now time to multiply the money. And so you have to get your money to work harder than you do. You know, the Money Guy show says when you invest your money, you'll get to a point where your money, and that could be $100,000, it could be a certain number, but you'll get to a point where your money makes more money than you do in your 9 to 5 and in your side hustle. And that's where you want to get to. That's where I'm trying to get to. I want my investments, my real estate mostly, to make more money than I make teaching. That's just my own personal goal. You can have your own personal goal of your investing, whether it's stock market, real estate, whatever the case may be, whatever's comfortable for you and whatever you understand. That's what I believe in. Invest in whatever you understand. Don't invest in what somebody else does, because I've lost money taking people's tips and investing on what they told me to. And I should have drank coffee long before now. So Robert Kiyosaki, who's one of my favorites, now he's a polar opposite to Dave Ramsey. So I am a little bit Dave Ramsey when I'm in debt, and I'm a lot Robert Kiyosaki when I'm not in debt. And Robert Kiyosaki says, the rich don't work for money. They have their money work for them. And I firmly believe that. You know, the money that I make teaching and the money that I make from my pension, that money is supposed to be invested so that it multiplies. It's not supposed to go for going out and buying this and going out and buying that. Yes, I could buy a brand new motorcycle, but I'm not going to because I don't want to make those payments. I have a motorcycle that runs good, so until I can't hold up that motorcycle, it's heavy, until I can't hold up my motorcycle anymore and I have to go out and buy a trike, right? Because that'll be my next purchase, is the motorcycle trike that I don't have to hold up. Then I will go out and spend that money. But hopefully my investments will make enough money to pay for the trike, right? One thing I've talked about is that I want to pay for a car with cash, right? Well, they don't make 2-doors. Honda doesn't make 2-doors. So I'm going to have to step up in class to get another 2-door car. Now, in my old age, I want, and we talk about dreams here on this channel, I want a 2-door convertible, right? Well, that's a lot of money. And if I'm going to pay for that in cash, I have to have my investments multiply to make that amount of money so that my investments pay for my car in cash. And that's what Robert Kiyosaki says, have your assets, which mine is real estate, have your assets pay for your liabilities. And the car is a liability, the car is a toy for me. So therefore my assets need to pay for that. You know, maybe some people have like one rental property that pays for their dental insurance, and they have another rental property that pays their car payment. Different people do it different ways. I don't have a separate rental property to pay for separate different things. However, all of my rental properties together someday, not today, someday will pay for my living expenses. And that's the goal. It's a long-term plan and it's a long-term game. So I'm going to apologize in advance when my alarm pops up on the screen again, and I have to reach my arm over and silence it. So now we are in the multiply phase, right? And so Einstein says that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't understand it pays it. So I don't ever want to be on the paying side of compound interest, which is why I'm paying this 38,000 off as fast as possible. With every penny, every resource I have, this money is getting paid off. Now, I took 3 vacations this summer while I was racking up all this debt, but the vacations were already scheduled before I started buying these rental properties. And I did not realize that I was going to get a tax planner. See, again, you get sidetracked with different things. I didn't realize I was going to find a tax planner that was going to cost me $5,000. So all of these things came up while I had already had vacations planned. However, I'm in this boat now. So in September, October, November, and December, I'm not traveling. I'm not going on vacation. Actually, am I? I've got one in November. But anyway, one weekend trip. But for the most part, the next 4 months is all about debt payoff. And you guys are going to watch me at the end of my monthly videos pay off this debt. And you're going to go, wow, that guy is focused. Because when I do the Dave Ramsey Scorched Earth Payoff Debt Plan, I do it and I don't play. So you guys are going to see that. So we've talked about compound interest, right? Some people earn their compound interest. Okay, see you in a minute. That was Sedatrix. She'll be right back. So some people earn their compound interest from their investments, right? If you invest in the stock market, and a lot of people invest in their 401ks, absolutely invest at least to the employer match in your 401ks. I do not get a match, I need to mention this, with my colleges because I'm an adjunct professor. If I was full-time, I would get a match from my colleges, but I do not. So whatever I put in is what I put in. However, I have seen it grow. The stock market has been up, it's been down, it's been up. When I just checked it, I think yesterday, all of my 401k accounts are up, which is a good thing, right? And I have just over, well, I think I had 125,000 in there, and now I have 127,000. So that was 2,000 made from when I checked before. And so my point is that compound interest is going to keep growing. But I remember, and it wasn't but a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, that I had 33,000 in that account. And what I did was, once I had paid off debt and become debt free, I put every penny of my teaching income into those retirement accounts in the stock market. And so that's my point. Once you manage your money and you have that zero-based budget and you owe no debt, then you can really start building wealth. And some people say, well, the Dave Ramsey plan says, pay off all your debt, then build wealth. No, I say invest while paying off your debt. Do both, because you'll never get back that time that you could have been either in the stock market or have these assets, right? I was not debt free when I bought my first rental property. I was not debt free when I bought my second rental property. So the point is, I've had those for many, many years, and those were working in the background while I was paying off debt. Now, that's just how I do it. Again, everybody do what you're comfortable doing. And so I talked about time in the market, but what I really want to talk about is starting when you're younger. Do not wait like I did. Well, it wasn't that I waited. My life circumstances came in, and I was not able to start investing and building wealth until I was 35, 40 years old. I just wasn't. I had made so many mistakes financially in my life early on that I just didn't get started until then. And I didn't have any little modicum of financial security or financial literacy, not financial security. I did not have any financial literacy whatsoever until I was 35, 40. So I'm playing catch up. And I love the Money Guy show on YouTube because they talk to 20-year-olds. And they say if you start saving in your 20s, and I have their koozie up here on the wall that says $1 invested in your 20s, by the time you become 65, is $88. Where else can you multiply your money 88 times? You start young. So please, if you're younger than me, please start. Now, I will say that a lot of us are not young. And because my channel is about start from where you are, we are all starting from where we are. It doesn't matter how we got here, right? Somebody says, it doesn't matter how the mule got in the ditch. Get the mule out of the ditch. And that's what I say. Yes, I made a bunch of mistakes when I was younger. However, I'm here now, right? I owe $38,000 now. So we pay it off now. We don't whine and moan about, oh, I shouldn't have did this and I could have done that and why did I do this? No, we're here now. Let's get out. And so that's start young. Long-term investing versus speculation, right? If you are young, you can take more risks than per se somebody who's older. If you don't have a pension, you may not take as many risks as someone who retires with a pension. There are studies out there that show people with pensions tend to grow more wealth and spend more money. If you do not have a pension, people tend to save more money, not spend it. They don't tend to spend as much money in their retirement enjoying life because they're worried about having enough money to last them the rest of their life. But I have a tiny pension, which goes up each year, and so I'm sort of counting on that. And I am waiting on Social Security, right? Yes, I am. I'm waiting on another government check because when I get that government check, I can stop teaching because the government check replaces my teaching income. My rental income is supposed to replace my teaching income. Well, that could replace my Social Security. Always have another income stream to replace a prior income stream. And that way you can stack your income and take that prior income stream and invest it. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to take my teaching income and invest it. Then I'm going to take my Social Security and invest it. Then I'm going to take my rental income and invest it, right? Maybe my rental income will buy more rentals or it'll buy better quality rentals because I have a lot of maintenance with my older rentals that I own. So when I talk about long-term investing versus short-term investing or short-term speculation, is what I'm saying, is if you're a cowboy and you want to invest in something like crypto, I have a friend, a buddy of mine, and he makes a lot of money in crypto. So I am absolutely not going to say do not invest in crypto. What I say is invest in what you understand. I don't understand crypto. I have a little bit of it, and I'm comfortable either losing it or making, the money that I make. I think I said I had $150 or something in crypto. That's not a lot, okay? My friend probably has 100,000 in crypto. But he makes a lot of money and he understands the charts and he studies this stuff. He knows it like the back of his hand. And he's been doing it for many, many years. That to me, for me, is speculation on my part if I was doing it because I don't understand it. My sister-in-law, she understands it. She's about 40 years old or so. She understands crypto, and she's trying to get me to get a cold wallet in crypto because I'm on an exchange. And supposedly that's dangerous. Well, see, I don't know. I don't know any better about the cold wallet and the exchange being dangerous. And what if the exchange shuts down and your money's gone and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. So 150 bucks, I'm going to let it ride. And 10 years from now, we'll see how much money I have in there. So you do you, but I, at my age, am into long-term investing. And the 401k is the first way that people become millionaires, is the 401k millionaires. Then they could do it through other different accounts and other different investments. Okay, stocks, index funds, and real estate. So pick whatever works best for you, right? I started doing real estate by house hacking, meaning that all I wanted to do was lower my monthly expenses, which goes back to the managing section. When you can manage your expenses and cut out your largest expense, which is your home and your rent or your mortgage, if you can cut out that largest monthly expense, the second largest being your car, but if you can cut out the largest monthly expense, you could invest that money. And that's what I did. So I started in real estate by cutting out my mortgage. My first property that I bought where I lived in the basement, I did not pay a mortgage for 2 years. So I had my entire paycheck for 2 years. And then I bought a duplex. So my point is, if you learn to lower your expenses and increase that gap, you can build wealth quite quickly. And if you do that over a long period of time, you can retire with confidence. And that's what we want. We want one, early retirement. That's what this channel is about. Get out and enjoy life while you're young enough and healthy enough to still go do things. Right? A little side trip here is I have a video coming out next week where I show me with a chainsaw. A couple of days ago, I was out in my yard chainsawing trees, right? I'm getting a little bit old to be out there chainsawing trees, and I've never used a chainsaw before. Just the other day, after chainsawing trees, I was up on a ladder that's just outside my window, right here, trying to clean the gutters on my house. I need to be paying somebody to come and clean the gutters on my house. And I never thought about it. I just thought, I'll get up and do that stuff. No, retire early while you're still young enough and healthy enough to go out and enjoy life. And what I'm realizing is that I'm getting older. I'm getting too old to be going up on that ladder. I'm getting too old to be chainsawing trees in my backyard. I'm getting older. It's sort of snuck up on me. So anyway, retire early, but retire early with confidence by multiplying your wealth. And so that's how I've retired. When I retired, I was working for the federal government. They were paying me $80,000 a year. My teaching income was a little over $80,000 a year. So I said, I could take a pension from the government and just live off of my teaching income. But I also want to mention this, which I always forget to mention. When I talk about my retirement from the government, I always forget to mention this. For 3 years before I quit my job, I was living on my teaching income and investing my government income. Dave Ramsey talks about before you jump ship, make sure you're close enough to the shore. So I do not want to be one of these people on YouTube saying, quit your job. That's not me. What I do want to say is prepare to quit your job. Make sure that you can live on something else. Like, for example, and I'm not saying anybody should do this, but if you have YouTube income, if your YouTube income replaces your 9-to-5 income for a year or 2 years or 3 years, then you could say, okay, I could go into YouTube full time. I would not do it unless I was really confident that it was really going to replace my 9-to-5 income. And so my teaching income did that. And so I was able to stop working and just live on my teaching income. And yes, it was rough when I lost my government income and my income went down 50% because I was now only on my teaching income. But I knew I could make it. I knew I could make it. And so I have. And I've actually made more money since I've retired for, well, a few reasons, but I'm very blessed in that I bought rental properties at a time where interest rates were super low. And so I just benefited from the low interest rates. And so I've actually made a lot more money since I quit my job than I made when I was a government employee. And so one of the last few things, and I'm going to stop the poll because I forget to do this every single week, me and my forgetfulness. So let's see, we're going to find the poll over here and stop it. We're going to end the poll. And so then I have to make a short after the live telling everybody what the poll results are. I just love that. Regina just said, your income is your biggest wealth tool. And that's why we talked about in the beginning, whether you're on a fixed income or not, find a way to make a little bit more. Find a way to make money on the weekends. Find a way to cut back on your spending so that more of your income can go towards your future investments, whatever that looks like. Some people start a business. There is no one way to build wealth. There just isn't. You could do a combination of the stock market and real estate. You could build a business. People do vending machines. I mean, there are tons and tons of ways, but you have to be creative and find the way that works best for you. So my question is, if you had $1,000 to invest today, where would you put it? So put that in the comments as we start to end this live. If you had $1,000 today, where would you put it? Because at one point I had $1,000 and I had to decide, what am I going to do with it? And I couldn't buy a rental property for $1,000. So I had to decide, I'm going to take that $1,000 and put it into my retirement account, or I'm going to automate it and have my employer take it out before I ever see it. And that's how I force myself to live on less money. If I don't bring it home, it doesn't exist. So I kept telling my employer every year, okay, take out 5%. Okay, take out 7%. Okay, take out 8%, so that I forced myself to invest. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. Automate your investments and multiply what you have. So I have stopped the poll, and it says that 40% say that they're growing income, right? And that's what they struggle with the most, is making more money. 30% said all of the above, that they're struggling with making, managing, and multiplying. 20% said they're struggling with managing and controlling their expenses. And so we should talk about that more. But it seems like most people are struggling with growing their income. And I have a couple of videos that talk about this. It talks about ways to make money on YouTube, but maybe I will make more videos on ways to increase your income. And that's just either different side hustles or ways to increase your income in your present occupation, which is also possible for a lot of people. And then 10% said that they struggle with investing. And investing is hard, but the other hard part is once you've invested a lot of money and you've built wealth, it's hard to spend it. And we're going to talk about that in another future video. But we are getting towards the end of the video. Now, what we've talked about is making more money, right? Growing your income, because your income is your most powerful tool, as Regina said, towards building wealth. One, you have to have the income, but two, you have to manage that income. You can't blow it every month. You could make $100,000 a year. And if you spend $105,000 a year, it doesn't matter. So it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. That's what I do, is I try to keep as much of what I make as possible. And that's what I did when I was house hacking. I kept 100% of my paycheck and paid nothing out towards my mortgage for 2 years. If I could do that, anybody could do that. It just gives up a little bit of comfort, which wasn't a big deal for me. So we've talked about that. We've talked about interest. I'm going to be paying interest on this $38,000 while I pay off this debt this year. And so I don't like paying interest. So I am very hot, I'm very upset, I'm very focused. And so that's what it is. I get mad when I have to pay interest. And so therefore, I don't want to give the bank my money. So therefore, I'm going to pay them as fast as possible. And that's what you got to do. You got to be mad. You got to be angry, right? There was that movie a long time ago, and I'm going over my 60 minutes here. But there was that movie where they threw that TV out the window and they said, I'm mad as heck and I'm not going to take it anymore. Well, that's how I'm going to be with my debt. So I went over my time, but I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you all for coming to my weekly live. I will be here next Friday. And please watch my interview with Jarrett that was on Wednesday so that I get a few more watch hours. I think that I'm close to 750 subscribers. So we are getting there towards monetization. Thank you all so much, and I will see you all next Friday. And just remember, never let your past determine your future. Bye, everybody.